What is up, disc golfers? Today on Iceberg TV, we will be doing our first Brodie Smith video that we've had in a very long time. Brodie Smith has come a very long way as a pro disc golfer. From those videos we saw of him playing with Paul McBeth and Simon Lizotte, he's taken the game a lot more seriously. From a social media aspect, he's helped a lot of players propel themselves to the next level as far as their contracts go, their careers go, their social media profiles go. Brodie sort of paved the way for a lot of players, things we see right in front of our eyes, and then a lot that's happened behind the scenes. Now, what I really want to talk about is where do I think Brodie Smith's skill ceiling is, and the timer is ticking age-wise for him, but he can still peak and he can still become a top-tier pro if he fixes a few things. But currently right now, I do not think Brodie Smith is a top-tier pro. But what he does have going for him is elite distance, which is something that's really hard to sort of obtain. But the thing that's holding him back more than anything, I can think of three things. It's his consistency off the tee with his backhand, his forehand in general, and his circle 2 putting. Now, those are three things that you can really dial in very quickly as long as you find something that's going to help you develop your confidence. A lot of the things that are hurting him are probably mostly confidence and mental based. All he needs to do is make a few form critiques, and he's already developed a really nice looking step putt that we're going to see next season. I think it looks really solid. So I think he's going to have a huge increase in his circle 2 putt makes. And I'm thinking we're going to see the thing to watch out for with Brodie is actually the spread of what place he's coming in and week out. He was pretty consistently coming in like top 30 for the first half of the season. But then as the season started to drag on, he actually had a really great finish at Goat Hill and then dropped back down to 26th. And then at Portland, 13th place. That is an amazing finish at a national tour level event. And then Brodie Smith again falls to 21st and then 40th, and then comes back at the Silver Series event, takes 11th at an A tier, which is also really amazing. That's a really astounding finish for a brand new pro. Now we come back 30th, 61st, 71st at the USDGC. All of these really, really deep in the field finishes is something you would not see from a top 5 pro. If we compare it to Ricky Wysocki's, just to give you a glimpse as to what is it actually like to be a top 5, top 10 pro, Ricky Wysocki only came out of the top 10 2 times this year. Now, it's not entirely fair to compare Brodie Smith's current career to Ricky's career, but it just shows you sort of the skill gap between the level of consistency a top pro has compared to Brodie Smith. Now, the good news for Brodie is that all you need to do is shoot really good for one weekend and you can come out and win one of these NTs. You can come out and win a major, but you need to have that consistency behind your game. As Brodie continues to play, he's going to continue to develop that consistency as long as he's putting the work in the off season, taking advice from the other pros, and working on the things that he needs to work on. The biggest thing he needs to work on is his forehand. Now, this is a 10-year-old video that I actually learned how to throw a forehand with back when I was playing Ultimate Frisbee, and he still has a very similar form to this. You can see it's like a very nose-uppy, sort of floaty little wrist snappy thing, but you can see the disc kind of comes out like nose up. Now, the only reason I'm bringing this up is because Brodie has some very serious muscle memory that he actually needs to delete from his memory banks before he's going to be able to successfully throw a consistent forehand. Or if he wants to continue throwing the forehand the way that he is throwing it, he needs to throw much more understable drivers for his forehand. He needs to throw stuff, just believe in the hyzer and let them flip up, similar to how Big Germ throws his forehand. So we don't see Big Germ really forehanding destroyers, X-Cows, overstable discs. We see Big Germ forehanding wraiths and eagles and things that will flip up for him and sometimes even drift a bit to the left. I think if Brodie committed to either super overstable and like a 45-degree nose-down angle or 45 degrees nose up angle with a really flippy driver, I think you'd see a lot more consistency out of his play. Now, you can hear him time and time again mention that he has no confidence in his forehand in this battle for Bedford coverage. He throws 2 really bad forehands in a row, so I definitely want to focus on these two. because he's losing a lot of strokes on these really bad forehands that are just getting him off the fairway, out of position, especially on difficult separator holes where most of the field may not have the forehand required to get the birdie. Brody sort of falls in that category and isn't able to get the birdies either on those tough forehand holes. So let's have a quick look at the clip.
Taking par there. But I'm still under par, and I think going into this round after like my first blow up, the goal was to just try to get under par. Like you can see the forehand. Like it looks weird. It looks like I'm like kind of doing like a fairy throw where I'm like lifting up my back leg like Tinkerbell or something. Like look at that.
Yeah, what the heck
like,
was
what
that?
But that was actually
that was
nasty.
a pretty sick shot.
But that was nasty.
But how you threw it was
I
sickening.
needed to throw it like that for that shot, but not for the tee shot. But yeah, this is the first tournament maybe.
The thing you'll notice about Brody's forehand is that he's actually quite good with putters and mid-ranges. And you can see that sort of nose up floaty release angle works with those slower discs. But then when you put a faster disc in his hand, you can see a lot more of the weaknesses come out because he's trying to throw, I'm assuming he's throwing like forces and Zeuses and more overstable molds. But I think if you put a less stable distance driver in Brody's hand and let it just do like a big germ sort of, instead of stalling and breaking to the right, something that will actually pick up and drift more to the left before it fades out, that would be something that Brody would have a lot more success with. Because if he's going to do this sort of intermediary flat style of throw, he needs to dial in this nose angle. I think my advice for him would be to commit to something understable and put a ton of hyzer on it, or commit to something wildly overstable and put a ton of anhyzer on it and just juice it with anhyzer, because you need to find a way to develop consistency. And just playing in that middle ground is so touchy. You're better off picking one of the extremes just to develop that consistency. Again, because his backhand is so good, it's his main shot. All he needs is a serviceable utility forehand that goes to the right. So if Brody can develop that, I think he could go from this 10-16 rating to more like a 10-30. And as a 10-30 rated player, you have a lot more chances to put yourself in a position to actually come out and win events. So hopefully Brody can commit to something. Right now he has no confidence in his forehand, even after all these tournaments. Like, it doesn't look, like he says it looks bad, and it does look a little weird, but I've seen forehands that look a lot worse than this, that fly a lot better than this. And so his release and his form isn't that bad, but I think a lot of it comes down to his disc selection. I think he just needs to commit to either hyzer or anhyzer and just always do the same thing until he develops confidence in just that one single shot. And then we'll see a lot better disc golf out of Brodie Smith as far as his forehand game goes. But I think he's got like 10 to 15 rating points to pick up just for having a forehand that's serviceable, that just goes straight for a little bit and then finishes to the right. If he can just do like a super overstable anhyzer or whatever the case may be, he'll be a lot more consistent. So we look at someone like Eagle. Eagle has so much power, he sort of can turn over things that are extremely overstable anyway. But look at he throws with a similar nose angle to Brodie Smith, but Eagle's throwing a disc that will flip up slightly for him. So if we look, Eagle also goes with somewhat of a flat throw, but the disc he's throwing will actually break to the left, which is exactly what Brody needs to do. He just needs to find something that he can just chunk on and let it drift left, or something super overstable that he can smash on 45 degrees of anhyzer that will still always finish to the right. He just needs to pick something. So he needs to pick a player whose forehand he feels he can emulate, and he needs to figure something out. Because if he can't figure this out, it's going to seriously hurt his chances of winning any major events. And a guy as competitive as Brodie Smith doesn't like coming out and coming in 71st place. I don't care how much money you're making. If you've played sports your whole life and you're competitive and you're motivated by competing at the highest level, you're not happy with things like this. And when you come out and win, even a small event like a C tier, you get a hunger for winning, and you get a hunger to continue to obtain that feeling. If Brody didn't want to come out and win, the Pro Tour is over, but he's still showing up to events. He's played the last 2 weekends, and he wants to come out and get better and learn to win. I think he's going to just sort of fix these couple of things, and he'll be a really good top tier pro. But I would love to hear your guys' comments in the comments section down below. Do you think Brody cares about winning tournaments? Do you think he's just a discraft money machine? What do you actually think Brodie Smith's goal in disc golf is? I think it's to come out, win tournaments, be a top tier pro. And to be a top tier pro, he just needs to fix a few things here and there, and then he can potentially put himself in position to win big events. So I would like to see it. It would be really exciting for Brody to come out, do well, dominate, put himself in a position to win. I'm not going to lie. If I see Brody on lead card, I'm going to watch it regardless whether it's rounds 1, 2, 3, or final round. I'm going to watch the card that's got Brody on it. But if he's not playing well, he'll never be on those lead cards, and we'll probably never see him play aside from on his YouTube channel here and there. With all that being said, I'd love to hear comments in the comments section down below. You're watching Iceberg TV, and take care.